Hello and welcome to the 7th episode of 4 Minutes of History, Art and Culture in Vienna with your virtual city guide, Akim Ferrandina. This episode is about Gothic architecture, Gothic art a bit, and about the music the people heard in these times, I mean the medieval era, still in the Gothic time. So we are now heading toward a church where you start to see some elements of the Gothic era. Especially you can discover a window which has a pointed arch. And this is a very, very important element of this, because the Romanesque churches were very, very solid. They had very thick walls, and it was not really possible, technically, to enlarge the windows. In France, in the 12th century, the people wanted to build higher churches with bigger windows to bring as much light as possible into the church. And to do this, they had to introduce the pointed arch. And this permits you to bring the weight of the facade better from up to down, so you can enlarge the windows and you can bring more light into the church. One of the elements about painting or murals is the gilded background. When you see scenes connected to Jesus Christ, the Holy Virgin, saints, and so on and so on. Now Mario will zoom for you. And now you see Jesus Christ with the Holy Virgin, with this gilded background. And this is typical for the Gothic era, because they wanted to bring this scene in a kind of parallel universum out of space and time. We will talk about this topic maybe in future too. And now I want to talk to you about music, because nowadays it is for us usual to have iPhones, to have, what's this green one, Spotify, for example. But back in time, music was not accessible for every person. And so we had in these times the so-called minstrels or menestrels, so-called traveling singers, poetry writers, musicians, and so on and so on. And they were going from one castle to the other. They offered their music to the people, and they wanted in a kind of way to how to say this, so wanted to win for themselves a very handsome looking woman or a beautiful woman. And so this is, you can imagine to be back in the 12th century. Maybe you're in a forest and someone is starting to play music. And so I've put for you, if you want to hear this kind of music from these times, a link with music from Walther from the Vogelweide. He's, we can say, the most known German-speaking menestrel. He lived at the same time as Blondel, who lived at the same time as Richard Lionheart. It's a quite weird music maybe for you, but this is what the people heard in these times. Here you see this church. It's from the 12th century. We have here a mixture between the Romanesque era, still very solid, and the Gothic with these pointed arches. And very, very special is the roof, or better the spire, with this very, very, very thin decorated Gothic decorations, which were made out of sandstone, which is very easy to be carved, but at the same time it is very, very sensitive to the pollution. So this was a brief introduction to this topic. I hope you enjoyed this video too. When you did it, please leave me a thumb up, follow me, press the bell, you know, and I'm looking forward to see you, or that you see me next week for the episode number 8 of 4 Minutes of History, Art and Culture in Vienna. Thank you very much. Stay healthy, have fun. Stava il tempo in cui c'era questa arte qui. Den Stufen auch kurz fahren, ja? Das dell'architettura no, ich muss nochmal beginnen, Entschuldigung, ich habe da... Oh, stopp! Ich habe mich... Ja, Mario. Nein, geht nicht.